This armor takes over 20,000 hours to get. But why? In Hypixel Skyblock, there are plenty of different armor sets, with some being bought from NPCs, some being dropped from mobs, and some being even given during special events. These vast different ways of obtaining armor leads to some pieces being exceptionally rarer than others. Of course, pieces like exotic armor or glitched armor that can no longer be obtained will be considered rare because you just can't get them anymore. But today, I wanted to look at what armor is the rarest that you can still obtain. And let me tell you, the amount of grinding you'll need to do for this is insane. First of all, in this context of rare armor, we're gonna assume you have infinite coins. So if an armor set simply requires you to pay a bunch of money, then we're gonna assume that's not a problem. We will also assume a semi-Iron Man approach. What I mean by this is you can buy whatever you want if it is needed to upgrade the armor, but to actually get the base armor, you're gonna have to manually drop that yourself. But now that that's clear, let's get into it. But before I explain why it takes so long to get this armor, please consider subscribing because we are so close to 100k, and if you want to be in the under 100k gang, subscribe. So, most people's first assumption for the rarest armor in the game is 15-star Crimson. If you don't know what that is, it's the best damage set in the entire game outside of dungeons. While it's true that very little people have it, the reason for this is because it's expensive, not because it's rare. If you had enough money, all you would really need to do is grind a bit of the Kudra Bros to get the pieces themselves, and then some extra Kudra teeth which you need to upgrade it. Everything else you need can be bought or just requires you to wait a few weeks. So, if 15-star Crimson isn't the rarest, then what is? Well, one thing that's important is that the entire set is leather. I'll explain why later, but just remember that. Anyways, following this rule, the rarest set in the game, in my opinion, is maxed bouncy armor. Hold on, before you kill me, let me explain. If you don't know much about Skyblock, bouncy armor is an early game armor dropped in the 4th floor of dungeons. So the fact that I'm saying it's the rarest in the game sounds understandably stupid. However, I got some good reasons for saying this. First of all, the set I'm exactly referring to is 50 out of 50 bouncy armor dropped from Master Mode Floor 4. If you didn't know, Master Mode Floor 4 is basically just a harder version of Floor 4, and pieces dropped from that floor are distinctly different from the pieces dropped from the normal Floor 4. And in addition rarer because of the added difficulty of the floor. Second thing we need to address is the 50 out of 50 portion of the armor. All armor dropped by dungeon mobs has a random stat bonus applied to it. The bonus can range from 1 to 50. And if you're lucky enough to get a perfect stat bonus of 50, then the base rarity of the item will be upgraded. So of course, if we're looking for the rarest armor in the game, we're gonna want it to have a maxed stat bonus. Now that you understand these two things, you're probably wondering why I chose bouncy armor as the rarest and not any of the other dungeon sets that exist. Well, there's a few reasons. First reason is that the armor is only dropped from one mob called the Super Archer and has a pretty low chance of dropping it either way. The second reason, on the other hand, is more relevant, and it has to do with the fact that the Super Archer is actually bugged. And unlike other dungeon mobs, the Super Archer is bugged, causing it to never drop its armor on any floor except Floor 4 and Master Mode Floor 4. This, paired with the fact that Super Archers are already kinda rare, makes perfect bouncy armor extremely hard to get. But you don't even need to take my word for it. I asked the number 3 player on the server for the most M4 completions about his experience, and he confirmed about the same. In 6,200 runs, he was able to get about 3,000 Super Archer kills. According to him, this granted him around 10 to 15 perfect bouncy pieces. Keep in mind that a lot of these are duplicates and doesn't mean he ever got a full set. But now, since we know that it's definitely the rarest in the game, let's calculate how long it would take to get a full set. Assuming you had a somewhat decent magic find of 160, you would need to kill 2,864 super archers, or in other words, do 5,728 runs for an 80% chance of getting a full set. Assuming 7-minute runs, this would take around 670 hours of straight dungeons. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but keep in mind M4 has been out for over a year and only 3 players have done this many runs. At this point in the video, you've probably noticed though that the number is nowhere close to what it says in the title. So why is that? Well, this is where the leather armor part comes in that I mentioned earlier. The reason it had to be leather is because then you can apply dyes to said armor, and dyes are some of the rarest items in the game. So rare in fact that the one we're about to talk about has never been dropped after being in the game for nearly 2 years. This dye is known as a cyclamen dye. The cyclamen dye is a rare drop from mushroom cows with a 1 in 100 million drop chance. Yes, you heard me right, 1 in 100 million. Luckily, we can drop this down quite a bit. If you're using proper enchants and have a reasonable magic find value of around 230, then it will drop to a decent 1 in 17 million chance instead. With this rate, it will take you around 27,869,055 kills to have an 80% chance to drop a single die. Now, using the rate I manually tested of 140 kills every 5 minutes, this means it would take you 16,589 hours to get just one die. And obviously you need 4 for a full set, which would increase it to over 66,000 hours. But obviously, if you're looking at the title again, you're probably wondering why it's so high in this case. Well, it's because I kinda lied. There's actually a few things we can do to drop the time significantly. First, we can make sure to use a cow axe. The cow axe doubles all drops from cows, and while it's not confirmed, let's hope this means that dyes are included too, because if so, this will cut our grinding time in half. The second thing I forgot to do is factor in bestiary. Bestiary is a feature of Hypixel Skyblock where as you kill more of a mob, your magic find or luck with that mob increases. With the mushroom cows recently being added to bestiary in the latest update, this is a huge help. So instead of having only 230 magic find, we'll have 419, which significantly boosts our odds all the way to 1 in 11,010,184. This means we only need 17,720,300 kills for an 80% chance to drop one of these dyes. Or in other words, it will take only 10,547 hours to get each dye. But remember, because we use the cow axe, we'll get 2 dyes each time, reducing the total from 42,000 hours of grinding to only 21,094 hours. While still an inconceivable amount of grinding for a single person to do, much more doable than before. And I think if enough people actually manually grind mushrooms for a while, it shouldn't really take that long for at least one person to get a dye. But 4 dropping is gonna take a decent amount of time.